Hey, before we dive into this story, please consider giving this video a quick like. It helps more than you know, and it tells us these stories matter to someone out there. I really appreciate the help. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, yeah, I made it. I've built something real? That's exactly how I felt in my late 20s. I had a beautiful woman by my side, and we brought the most perfect little girl into this world. We were young, full of hope, and ready to take on life. Things weren't easy at first. After my dad passed away when I was 27, our family finances hit rock bottom. I had to humble myself and start from the bottom as an intern at a consultancy. No money, just raw determination. And while others mocked the grind, I climbed the ladder, one exhausting step at a time. When our daughter turned 3, we tied the knot. A small ceremony. Nothing extravagant, but it felt right. She was a stay-at-home mom, and I was finally earning well as a full-time consultant. For a while, everything seemed perfect. We had stability, love, and laughter. Then her father died, and things started to shift. Her mother and sister moved in with us. I didn't even blink. I was financially comfortable by then, and family's family, right? I figured it'd be temporary. I figured wrong. Weeks turned into months, months into years. Despite both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law having well-paying jobs, they contributed nothing to the household. No bills, no groceries, not even a thanks. And my wife? She defended them every time I brought it up. Told me I was being dramatic, ungrateful. Still, I kept going. Providing, enduring, believing that loyalty and patience would somehow fix everything. But I couldn't ignore what was happening. Slowly, the house I paid for, the home I built, started to feel like a prison. My wife, her sister, her mom, they became this iron triangle of whispering judgment, constantly shutting me out. My own daughter, once my little angel, began to follow suit. Cold, distant. Sometimes she'd walk past me like I wasn't even there. One night, I overheard them talking in hushed voices. Laughter, whispers, silence when I walked in. And that's when I felt it, the gut-punch realization. Something was seriously wrong, and what I discovered next would destroy every illusion I had about my family. It all started with a ding. A regular morning. I was in the living room sipping my coffee, flipping through the newspaper. My daughter, let's just call her Amy. She had left her phone on the table before heading out. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at it. But that sound, ding, told me to look. I wish I hadn't. The message preview said, "Why don't you and your mom just chase your old man out already? Then the 3 of us can have the house to ourselves and finally live a good life with his money." It was from someone named Luke, a name I didn't recognize. I was like, what? Who the hell is this? I picked up the phone. My hands were trembling, but I had to know. I scrolled through the chat. The further I went, the sicker I felt. This wasn't just some random message. This was a plan crafted over months, maybe years. Luke was clearly my wife's boyfriend. Amy was involved. And even worse, my wife's mother and sister knew about it. They weren't just bystanders. They were helping. In one message, Amy wrote, "He's such an idiot. He won't even see it coming." And my wife replied with laughing emojis. Another message read, "Once he's out, Luke can move in. Grandma and Auntie love him." Every word was a knife in the gut. My daughter, my wife, her family plotting against me like I was some disposable ATM. And the worst part? I had no one to turn to. I was outnumbered in my own home, surrounded by traitors. That evening, I confronted my wife. I told her I saw the texts. She laughed, said it was a joke, that they were just venting. "You know how girls are," she smirked. "We say things we don't mean." But I saw the panic behind her eyes. I nodded. I pretended to believe her. But inside, I made a decision. I was done being the fool. I needed a plan, and I needed it fast. Because here's the thing. This wasn't just betrayal. This was premeditated. My daughter had turned against me. My wife was openly cheating. Her family was enabling it. And now they were trying to push me out of my own house, with the intent of living off my money with some random man I had never even met. The next week I had to go out of state for work, and while I was gone, the mask came all the way off. Friends told me my wife was partying like a teenager. Social media posts full of beachside selfies and expensive cocktails. Amy was with her, my daughter, my blood, laughing, smiling, living her best life with the woman tearing me apart. At that point, I knew I wasn't the husband. I wasn't the father. I was just the meal ticket, but they had no idea that I was about to flip the whole script. When I got back home from my work assignment, everything seemed too normal. The house was clean. My wife was overly affectionate, clinging to me like she hadn't spent the last few weeks partying like a single college girl. Still, Amy was cold. Still wouldn't make eye contact. The air felt thick with secrets. I knew something was up, but I stayed calm, collected. I was watching now, every move, every glance, every whisper. And then came her birthday. I asked her weeks in advance, "Let me plan something. We'll invite some friends, make it special." She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "No, I already made plans. Just the girls, me, Mom, my sister, and Amy. We're going out." I should have pushed harder. I should have questioned it. But I didn't. Instead, I spent her birthday alone, eating leftovers, watching TV while my wife and daughter played happy family with someone else. The next morning, she was in the shower. Her phone was buzzing on the nightstand. I hesitated before looking. But I didn't. I picked it up, and there it was. "Luke, last night was amazing. You looked stunning as always. I'm lucky to have you as my girlfriend. Tell Amy I love her and give her a kiss from me." Girlfriend? Tell Amy I love her? The words hit like a truck. My stomach turned. My hands shook. I scrolled through the messages, hundreds of them, and it got worse with every line. Luke wasn't just her affair partner. He was part of their life. My wife had introduced him to Amy, and Amy adored him. In one message my wife wrote, "Amy told me she wishes Luke was her real father. Says he's 1,000 times better." My throat went dry. My own daughter had said that. The same girl I used to sing lullabies to at night. The one I held when she scraped her knee. Who I worked late nights for just to buy her birthday presents. And now she wanted this stranger to be her dad? There were pictures, dozens of them, picnics, dinners, holidays, even my wife's birthday party, the one she told me she was spending with the girls. There they were, my wife, Amy, and Luke, laughing at a rooftop bar. There was a selfie Amy had taken. She was all smiling, pointing at Luke and my wife kissing. I was the outsider now, the husband they laughed about, the father they didn't want, the man whose life they were trying to erase. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed more. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about survival. Because buried deep in one of those messages was something far more chilling than betrayal. They were talking about getting rid of me. For good. After reading that last message, my heart stopped. It wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about my life. In one thread, Luke joked, "He's too dumb to see it coming. Honestly, if he just disappeared, we'd be set for life." My wife replied, "He's worth more when vanished than he's alive, thanks to that fat life insurance policy." Then Amy, my own daughter, chimed in, "So when's the accident happening?" Followed by laughing emojis. I wanted to vomit. These weren't teenagers being dramatic. These were grown adults and my daughter, talking about getting rid of me. They were discussing it casually, as if they were planning a weekend BBQ. That's when everything inside me flipped. No more confusion. No more denial. This was war. First thing I did? I stopped eating anything my wife made. I didn't trust a single thing she touched. I started eating takeout, locking my bedroom door at night, and keeping a recorder on me 24/7. Call it paranoia, but I wasn't taking any chances. They thought I was clueless, but I had already begun building my case. I bought a hidden camera for the living room. I installed security software on all the devices I paid for. I hired a private investigator, someone ruthless and quiet. I told him to follow my wife, Amy, and Luke. I wanted everything: where they went, who they met, what they said. Over the next few weeks, the picture became horrifyingly clear. Luke wasn't just some fling, he was my wife's ex-boyfriend. They'd reconnected on Facebook years ago, and the affair had been going strong for over 3 years, right under my roof. All those business trips, girls' nights out, unexplained expenses. It was him. He had been part of our lives long before I ever found out. The PI got photos of the 3 of them together, constantly at restaurants, hotels, even picking Amy up from school. Like some kind of deranged mock family. I remember staring at a picture, where Luke was carrying Amy on his back, while my wife leaned into him, giggling. I sat there thinking, that should have been me, but in their eyes, I was already gone. That night, I sat across from my wife at dinner. She was rambling about something. I couldn't even hear it. All I saw was the woman who once cried on our wedding day, now smiling like nothing was wrong after planning my demise. So I calmly stood up, looked her straight in the eyes, and said, I know everything. About Luke. About Amy. About the insurance. I've seen the messages. Her face went white. Her fork clattered to the plate. She whispered, It was just talk. We didn't mean it. But I was already walking away. Because the truth is, when someone talks about erasing you, there's only one option left: get ahead of them. After I dropped the truth, my wife followed me into the hallway, barefoot and shaking. Please, she stammered. You misunderstood. It was just talk. Just stupid jokes between us. Jokes? About erasing me? About collecting my insurance? Money? I turned around slowly and said, You said I was worth more erased than alive. Was that a joke too? She tried to talk, but no words came out. Tears were already welling up, but they didn't move me. Not anymore. Behind her, Amy stood at the top of the stairs, her arms crossed like she'd just walked in on a petty argument. She looked at me like I was the villain. Her eyes weren't sad or guilty, just annoyed. Why are you making Mom cry? She snapped. That was it. I turned to Amy and said, You called me an idiot in your messages. Said you wished Luke was your father. You made your choice. Go live with him. And when this is over, don't ever call me Dad again. Her face dropped. Not with remorse, but with shock. Like she couldn't believe I was cutting her off. My wife dropped to her knees, sobbing now, clutching my leg like a child. Please, please, don't do this. I'll fix it. I'll make it right. But it was far too late. I had already called my lawyer. Within 24 hours, divorce papers were served. The house was legally frozen. She couldn't touch it. I hired the best forensic accountant in the state to trace every expense she made during the affair. My PI provided a full report, and my lawyer built a case, so airtight even the judge was stunned. And when we went to court, her lawyer tried everything, but the screenshots, photos, and chat logs didn't lie. She sat on the stand, sobbing, saying she was manipulated, overwhelmed, emotional, whatever excuse she could manufacture. The judge wasn't having it. My wife broke down in the courtroom, screaming she'd do anything to make it right, that she'd spend the rest of her pathetic life earning my forgiveness. Amy sat beside her, stone-faced. She still didn't get it, still believed I'd eventually cave. But when the judge asked if I had anything else to say, I stood up, looked them both dead in the eyes, and said, I only have one request. Remove my name from my daughter's birth certificate. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge blinked in shock. After a pause, he said, You are her biological father. That's not something we can just erase. I nodded and said, Then I'll do the next best thing. I'll erase her from my will. They both gasped, because in that moment, they realized I was truly done. They didn't just lose a husband or a father. They lost the man who sacrificed everything for them, and now he was gone. If this story hit you right, smash that like button. It's just a simple click for you, but it's a big push to the channel. After the courtroom showdown, I walked out free. Free from the lies. Free from the manipulation. Free from the people who plotted to destroy me. My wife, her mother, her sister, and Amy. They were all evicted within the week. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just handed them a letter from my lawyer. You have 72 hours to vacate the property. They moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment across town, still clinging to the scraps of my income. Court-ordered support that would only last until the divorce was finalized. Amy, who once used to call me Daddy with pride, looked at me with disgust when they left. But now I didn't feel pain, only pity. The PI confirmed what I suspected. Luke was a loser. No job, a trail of debts, and a habit of using women to fund his lifestyle. My wife traded a loyal provider and father for a broke parasite who loved her as long as my money was flowing. And now, with no more house, no more luxury, and no more safety net, they started to crack. Amy's grades tanked. She got suspended for talking back to a teacher. My sister-in-law quit her job mysteriously, and my mother-in-law started selling her jewelry online just to afford groceries. Luke? He ghosted them for 2 weeks before showing up drunk at their apartment and picking a fight with my ex-wife for not giving him the money she promised. The money from my insurance. That was the last straw. I didn't have to lift a finger. Their world was collapsing on its own. Meanwhile, my life transformed. I sold the house for a massive profit and moved to a new city where no one knew my name. I got promoted at work. My new home had peace, laughter, and sunlight. It felt like freedom. Then, 1 year later, I got a letter in the mail from Amy. It was handwritten, shaking in tone. She said she missed me, said she was manipulated by her mother, aunt, and grandma, that she was sorry for everything, that Luke had been abusive, that she just wanted her real dad back. For a second, I hesitated. But then I remembered. She didn't just go along with the betrayal. She fueled it. She helped them plan my erasure, like I was just a wallet they wanted to throw away. So I mailed her a short reply. You said Luke was 1,000 times better than me. Go be his daughter. Do not contact me again. 2 years passed, and today, I'm remarried to a woman who respects me, and she's pregnant with my first child. We're building a family from scratch, one that isn't built on betrayal, but on love, loyalty, and truth. I was sipping morning coffee on my patio when my lawyer called. It had been nearly 2 years since the divorce was finalized. I thought everything was finally behind me, but his voice was tense. Hey, I thought you should know. Amy's been trying to reach you again. She contacted my office, left a message. I sighed. What now? She says she wants to visit. She wants to apologize face to face. Says she's ready to tell you everything. I didn't answer. I just stared at the rising sun, thinking about how many mornings I used to wake up in dread, hearing whispers behind my back in my own home, wondering if I'd make it through the day without being pushed further into the shadows by the people I loved. And now, they wanted closure? He continued. There's more. Your ex-wife. She's been committed. What? Yeah, mental health facility. Involuntary admittance. According to reports, she's not well. Breakdowns, paranoia, accused nurses of poisoning her. Keeps mumbling about being watched. Apparently, she had some sort of public meltdown and someone called it in. I said nothing for a long time. Just watched the wind move through the trees. The same woman who once tried to get rid of me for a life of luxury was now sitting in a white room talking to walls. It should have felt like justice, but it didn't. It felt tragic. Not for her, but for what I wasted. The years. the sacrifices, the man I used to be. I asked my lawyer, "What does she want?" She didn't say much, but her sister told staff that she cries for you at night, says she sees you in her dreams, begs to go home. I nodded. She's already home. She chose it. And as for Amy, I gave him a message to forward. You were old enough to know what you were doing. You weren't brainwashed. You were cruel. You wished another man was your father. So go ask him to help you now. My door is permanently closed. Later that night, my wife, my real wife, held my hand as we looked at our baby's ultrasound. A tiny heartbeat flickered across the screen. I smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. The past, gone. The pain, healed. But the sad memory, etched into my bones, because betrayal like that doesn't fade. It changes you forever. 2.5 years had passed since I kicked them out of my life, since I buried the man who once begged his own family to love him. I was a new man now, successful, grounded, and most importantly, at peace. My wife, Maya, was 6 months pregnant with our son, and I was already building the nursery myself. Soft grays, ocean blue, and shelves full of adventure books. But then, a letter came in the mail. No return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. It was from Luke. Yes, Luke. The man my wife left me for. The man who once bragged about how lucky he was to replace me. The envelope smelled like cheap liquor and desperation. She's gone, it read. Your ex-wife. Gone. I kept reading. Luke had written the letter from jail. Apparently, after months of financial strain, fights, and psychiatric breakdowns, my ex-wife had tried to end it all. She overdosed in front of Amy. She survived barely. But what followed was even darker. Amy spiraled. Her college applications went up in flames. She got caught shoplifting. Started therapy. Moved in with a friend. Luke? He got violent. Started drinking. Got into a bar fight. Beat a guy. That's why he was writing me from a cell. But here's the part that chilled me to the bone. She called your name when she collapsed. Not mine. Yours. Luke ended the letter with a bitter line. She still loved you, even after all of it. She only ever loved you. I folded the letter and dropped it into the shredder. She loved me? She loved me while she plotted with her lover. And our daughter to erase me? She loved me while texting about insurance money, and how much of an idiot I was. No, that wasn't love. That was possession. She never loved me. She just hated being without what I gave her. Comfort, stability, a life she didn't earn. A week later, Amy showed up at my office. She looked nothing like the smug girl I remembered. Tired, pale, broken. She begged me, tears pouring down her face. I was just a kid. Please. I didn't know what I was doing. I want to know my little brother. I want to make this right. I looked at her for a long time. Then I said one sentence. You'll always be the girl who helped her mother try to erase her father. And I walked away. That was the last time I saw her. Now? My son is 9 months old. He looks up at me like I hung the stars. He doesn't know what betrayal is. And I pray he never does. If this story left you speechless, share it. Let people see how betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from your own. Comment below what you would have done. And remember, family is more than life. It's loyalty, it's love, and sometimes it's choosing peace over people who tried to destroy you.